Hi, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks, organizers, for inviting me. I'm Yelena, and I work for ICIJ. Before I even start, I want you to raise hands if you have heard for ICIJ before this conference. Can I ask you to raise hands if you have heard of Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, Pandora Papers? It's usually much more people know the leaks, the global leaks that we are doing than about the organization. So I will be talking about the trust today and how ICIJ does it. We are the team that have created all of these leaks that you probably have heard so many times before. We work with partners all over the world, but we also investigate ourselves. We have different teams that are working on all of these investigations. And we do them with partners, we do them with members, we do them with people who are probably the best investigative reporters in the world. Yesterday I've heard a lot about why we do it, what we do, and shall journalism exist. We don't have any guessing why we do it. We do it to take the dictatorship down. We do it to expose wrongdoings in the world. We do it so that things that you see in the screen behind me is possible. Only Panama Papers until 2021, last year, has recovered over $1.3 billion from rotten regimes. Only that global leaks, at the time the biggest one, have recovered that much money in the world and retrieved it back to the regimes that need it. But how we do it and what trust has to do with it. I'm going to explain how we do it, why we invest so much time and why we invest so much efforts in what we do. And first, I want to tell you that projects that we do from 20, 40 people up to 600. Pandora Papers have been done with partners all over the world. And we do them with people from some of the biggest media that you would ever heard. Washington Post, Guardian on one side. We do it with networks, some of the best networks of investigative reporting in the world, like OCCRP, Connecticut in Latin America. But we also do it, and we give so much attention to the partners that are coming from small newsrooms, such as Kathmandu, Benin, small places in East Europe, small places in Africa, small places in Latin America. When I talk about trust, I want to say that whoever have ever worked with investigative journalists knows that most of the investigative journalists don't even talk about what they do in their own team. So you would work with them, but you would not know what they do. Can you believe how hard it is to keep a secret among 600 people? Very hard. But having a project with 600 people says trust more than anything else. Two types of trust are extremely relevant for us. One, trust towards the journalists that we work with, our partners, and one towards the audience. And we do it with the three things you see in the screen. With the help of people, technology, and data, we are able to reinforce the trust among the people we work with and with the audience. When it comes how much people and energy we put in this, trust is not a constant category. Trust is fluid. You need to build it, you need to invest a lot of time in it, and you need to work on it. The way we do it is that we have coordinators for Latin America, for North America, for West Europe, for Eastern Europe, for Central Asia, Africa, Middle East, Pacific. We have regular meetings, we have regular talks. We work so much with them so that none of a day goes by in a year-long projects that we are not in contact with them. We provide them help, assistance. We do things for them, they do things with us. We share radically, which means if you find something in your country, you need to publish it. You have a place for it to publish. I'll talk about it in a second. And if you hide something from us, the trust is broken. And we don't work with partners like that. We work with partners who are willing to radically share everything because we radically share everything. And it doesn't matter if our meetings are looking like this or like this. We do it for the same purpose. We speak truth to the power. And yes, journalists that I work with are heavily attacked, online, offline. Most of them are actually in need that they really need to fight, and they really need to fight hard in order to keep themselves safe. This is one of the most common questions I ever heard when I'm talking in the conferences, when I'm talking with people after the talks. They always ask how safe it is. It is not safe for most of the journalists that I work with. They are very often sued, they're ending up arrested, and some of them have to leave their homes, have to leave their families, and have to leave their countries in order to keep on doing what they do. And they actually do it. You can see a quote from Maria Ressa. She's a very courageous Nobel Peace Prize winner, but also a founder of one of the most courageous center media in Philippines I have ever worked with. And she mentioned that she actually said this at the global conferences, at the global conference in Hamburg, that attack on one is an attack on all. And this happens a lot in the projects that I work with. And then what we do, we group ourselves and we help other partners become more strong, and we fight back as a network. We are putting our partners in contact with lawyers who can help. We are helping them wherever they are staying, but also we group ourselves in a way that when we actually talk with them, we group and then we attack back. All media in the world are publishing the same thing, that our partners are attacked, and that most often they are attacked by the regimes where they live, so that their regimes know that those journalists, either one or more, is not alone, that there is a serious network of the organizations, of media all over the world behind them. And you saw a little bit ago that during the Pandora Papers, there were over 150 countries. In total, we have probably worked with over 1,000 of journalists from all over the world, about 180 countries, and I think over 200 media outlets. Technology is another step that makes a really important thing for us. Technology actually helps us to do all of this in a much safe and easier environment for all of the journalists, no matter where they are coming from. ICIJ Tech Team has created 2 platforms that we daily use. Not only us, our partners as well. We have DataShare. It's a database where we keep all the documents or records that we get through the leaks. It's easily accessible, it's easily user-friendly to extremes, and all of our partners that are part of the project use it, and they search everything through it. The next one is the iHub, which we use as a communication tool. It's a communication tool, sort of social media for investigative reporters, where we publish everything we find. It's not something that we publish afterwards. It's like this huge place where we talk about topics, where we talk about who does what, where we talk about interviews, when we talk about attacks on our groups, on our teams, and everyone else. For us, this is of a crucial importance, because since it's encrypted, it's safe for everyone. And we share it and we explain to every partner how to use it. We invest so much time in them that they can invest so much time in their work with us. Working for ICIJ, I mentioned a few things. I work as a training manager. I work as a coordinator for Eastern Europe and Central Asia partnerships, and I'm also part of data team, and I'm data journalist and investigative journalist as well. And many of you don't get that photo on top, fool you. That's the photo from one of our meetings for Pandora Papers. And many of you would question how many of us are there. But actually, ICIJ has 34 staff members. There is only 34 of us in the entire world. Most of us are based in US, rest in Europe and Australia and elsewhere as well. During projects like Pandora, we would hire additional reporters, but it would never be more than 40 of us for the project. And we are shared between these teams, like you can see. We have data, which is extremely important. We have editorial, and we have tech team. And all of them are working together. Not all of them are working with partners, but all of them are working together in order to get all of this trust by the partners that we need in our work. And when we talk about data, I just want to emphasize how important it is. From one side, it's very relevant for the trust towards partners. Talking about the data, those are not only, I'm not talking about the documents, I'm talking the data that everyone can use in their stories. The stuff that my team has done for Pandora Papers has ended up in each and every article of Pandora Papers that you have read. Thus, we get to the point of how many politicians are there, how many documents are there, how many corrupted regimes are there, how many Russian oligarchs, billionaires, and such. And everything is furtherly checked. It goes to the rigorous check and check after check, mostly 3 times, at least 3 times. So that each and every data point that you get from what we do is fact-checked that many times. And what we do with partners also, as a data team, but also as an investigative team from ICIJ, we try to provide them, I know that most of you have never done on projects like this, and I'm trying to bring this closer to you so you would understand the level of the work it's needed. Pandora Papers had over 12 million documents. Those documents are not something you pick and then you publish. Those documents are not clean, as we would say. Those documents are different kind of financial reports, usually written in different languages, up to 50 of different languages. They're coming from different jurisdictions, done by some officers or clerks who don't care, sometimes in handwritten form. You can only guess the level of mistake. You don't simply type Vladimir Putin in this kind of database, and then all the documents that show how corrupted his regime is. You need to go through documents in details. I mentioned Russia as one of the countries, but what we do is we go through all of these documents and we create something that we call country lists, so that when we onboard our partners, they are able to see some of the crucial names from their countries that are there. So they join us and they see, okay, Serbia, these names are there. We found them. Yes, they find more, and because they're extremely good at what they do. But we try to provide all the details that could lead to better investigations and that could speed up the processes. This is how we enhance trust with them as well. I mentioned that we have rigorous checks, which we do. And our tech team created the thing that you see again behind me. It's prophecies. It's something that helps us fact-check everything. And as I said, all the fact-checks that we have done, and they are done months in and months out, they are done 3 times. And this fact-checking tool helps us. I remember that I didn't tell you about this thing here. This is actually an Excel sheet that my colleagues and I have worked for several months during Pandora. It had over 1,600 lines in order to confirm the politicians in Pandora. At the end, we had 330 politicians. To confirm that you have an actual politician from a certain country, you simply cannot have their name. You have to have a form to identify and to absolutely be sure that you talk about that politician. So either you have their name of birth, some sort of ID, their signature, something that without a doubt, 100%, you can say when you are addressed at a court or anywhere else, that that exact politician is part of Pandora. Prophecies, if there are tech people in the room, you can go to the GitHub, look for Prophecies, ICIJ, and it's open software that you're allowed to use. You will not see, of course, our data, but you will see how we did it, and you can use it for something else. Why we do all of this is that we want to create main findings. And main findings for Pandora were that there are 330 politicians, that are a lot of billionaires, 130 of them, that are 46 Russian oligarchs. And it's not just that their names are there. Having names in a global leak like this doesn't mean anything. What we are trying to show, and what we have done, is that we show the hidden asset that these people are hiding in their countries, and how hard their countries and their people in those countries are affected by it. We try to tell this through different stories. Our partners are telling this in their countries as well, in their own languages, of course. This is extremely relevant for them. This is extremely relevant because these people are hiding their wealth in order to, and pushing money out of country in order to keep money for themselves and their families and their allies. One of the findings of Pandora was that King of Jordan have had assets in the worth of over $100 million in US, south of France, UK. In the time when the people of Jordan were protesting in the street because how horrible conditions they live in, this was completely hidden. What he did, he put all of the companies through which he bought property in his own name. Some leaders are much smarter than that. They use proxies, they use different type of networks through companies. But our partners are really good at it, and they manage to find more, and they manage to find others that are doing this. We also find that next to the global findings that we have, we publish things on Offshore Leaks database. Again, you can go there and it's open for you to use. After most of the global leaks, what we do, we clean the data, we fact check it 3 times, and then we publish it in a global leak, in OLDB, in Offshore Leaks database. You are able to search it by simply typing a name of a person, their entity name, or simply check through the jurisdictions, different countries, or address to find intermediaries, connections between them. We also publish, and at the moment OLDB has over 800,000 entities. We also publish something that we call methodology pieces. Methodology pieces are something just like I'm doing now here, explaining how did we get to the data. We publish the documents that you can see. We publish, we explain and we talk with our team so that they tell you what they did there. Like, how did they approach certain numbers? How did we get to the certain numbers? And this is how we actually reform trust with public and with the audience, because our audience like that. Our audience knows that we will publish something like this, and they will know where the data is coming from. These are, if I can call it, an act of transparency, is calling public to trust in us. And with all of these things that I mentioned next to King of Jordan, or the stolen artifacts that ended up in American Museum that are now backed in Cambodia, or anything else that has happened in the world, like changes of legislation that show that certain countries in US use trust as a form of offshore, or EU Parliament changing laws after Pandora, has one other very large effect. There are no corrections. So far, we didn't have the need to issue any corrections of our data. And there are dozens and dozens of articles. No leaked data, again, among working with 600 journalists, and there are not documents that are leaked. Shows the trust that we share with partners and that we invested in them, but they invested in us as well. Because no matter who they are, when they see how much we work, they want to feel that energy and be part of this team. And this is exactly why we trust them. We are giving them the leap of faith, and then they follow it through. And there are no projects exposed in advance, of course. No matter how many of them there are, we work with them and we build trust with them and with the audience this way. And by saying all of this, we are leaving the room for one more type of trust with the people who are really important with what we do. Can you guess who they are? Yes? Yes, sources. We are leaving the room for sources to approach us. Because all of these that I've said so far is created so that people who are there, who are good in rotten systems, wants to share, they come and share with ICIJ because they see what we have invested in. And Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, Paradise Papers, Luanda Leaks, Ericsson Files, Uber Files are the projects that we have done in the last 10 years by doing as part of what I have just told you. And I hope that in the next 10, we will be able to do it again, because we are still going to do the same level of work and reinforce trust so these projects are able to happen. Thank you. And I would like to hear questions if you, of course, have any. I'm going to answer the first question that is not asked. And that is like, how do you get to work with ICIJ as a partner? And I always say the same, and then nobody approaches me afterwards. And I don't even ask them to pay me drinks. You can approach us and you present yourself and your media and your team and you say what you work on, what you would like to work on, and you find something that it's interesting as a lead for you to work on, especially from a country where we don't have a partner. And then we get in contact with you and we talk with you, and if there is something interesting that we both can work on together, we work together. So I encourage you to approach me if that's something that you're interested in. Now, real question. Can you, I don't hear you very well.
How do you vet your partners, and how do you vet your sources, and then how do you protect them following forward?
We don't attack them. A vet.
Yeah, vet your sources, verify their information, verify who they are, and then protect them in the process as you investigate.
Okay, it's not an easy question to answer. Depending on the court case and depending how and what kind of a problem our partner is, we decide to either issue a statement where we say something like, this organization has worked with us, they have been able to see the documents, and these are the truthful documents. Sometimes, based on leaks, depending what the leaks is, we don't allow even courts to see our documents because that's how sensitive they are, and that's how they can affect our sources. So if we have an idea that it could affect our sources, we don't do it. If it wouldn't affect our sources, or if our source is known by the time, we of course share those documents, or part, like a snippets of the document that would show the authenticity of that document and that it would help partners. Do we verify everything that we get? Absolutely. It's very easy for me to say it's not complicated to verify when you get something like that, because authenticity is easily seen. It's difficult for me to tell you something like this because you have never seen it before, I guess. But once you see the level of the documents, their randomness, and sometimes you would get something that it's totally not interesting. There are a lot of documents that are useless. Somebody's notes, they are organizing an office party, and you have like an email thread of 50 emails of things like that. Something that we really don't need. But you see the authenticity, you see how many email addresses are there, you see name of people, you see countries, you see a lot of it that you actually can check and see if they are truthful or not. I hope I answered your question.
I would like to ask, on the technology level, how challenging is it to protect your work from leaks, from spywares, from secret services, and also to protect the safety of your people, their private lives, which is related to what you already answered, but on the tech level, what measures do you take? Thank you.
So out of 34 people from ICIJ, around 10 work in tech department. They're security experts, they're IT, higher, smaller, junior, senior level people. And they work really hard to keep us all safe. So everything where we work is encrypted on double side. Everybody needs to use two-factor of authentication. Everybody needs to use PGPs, which mail encrypted emails, and no communication about the project is allowed anywhere else apart from there. Face-to-face communication is allowed only in front of the people that are part of the project, and this is how we protect ourselves. They know that the stake is high, especially when the project is this big, like 600 people. So on conferences like this is very problematic, you never know like who is who and whom you're gonna talk with. But somehow we manage to keep it together because everybody's kind of afraid that, they don't want to be the reason for the leak before the leak is out. There's a question here.
Thank you. Hi. Have you ever had the case of information given to you from bad intended source. I mean, I don't know, a secret service or something, or someone who would like to hurt someone and give you information, even valid information.
I'm afraid I missed the question. The question, can you please repeat?
If someone comes to you and gives you information with bad intentions, to harm someone, or to, you know, hit some, I don't know, a secret service or something. Have you ever had this case?
No, but we do get a lot of people approaching us to share information, and most of them are not valid, or we don't take them into consideration. I would say we take into consideration up to maybe 5% of everyone who approaches us. Next question. Okay, I don't see any. Thank you very much.